Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video.
Hey everybody, it's Joe. Welcome back to Giga Texas. It's Monday and it's overcast and it's had a lot of rain in the area over the weekend, but there's a lot of sightings and a lot of interesting things about Cybertruck this weekend and into today that we're going to be covering. First off, I just want to remind everybody that I am going down to Starbase to watch the Starship launch, and as you can see by this notice, it looks like Friday the 17th is the first opportunity for the Starship. So I was delayed a couple of days before I headed down to Starbase to cover that event. So this is most likely my last Giga Texas video for at least a week or so, but I'll keep you informed as time goes on. Now talking about Cybertrucks, as I mentioned, a lot of interesting things going on this weekend. First of all, we are just 17 days away from the delivery event that's going to be held right here at Giga Texas. And I know that the factory and the workers have been doing a lot of preparation, a lot of production to try to get that event one for the ages and a lot of vehicles hopefully for people to start picking up in just 17 days. Now a couple other things that I want to talk about here in the intro, and we'll get into that right now.
Now this weekend, Electrify Expo came here to Austin, Texas. It was held at the Circuit of America's Formula One track about 5 miles south of Giga Texas. I was fortunate enough to be able to attend with my nephew Nicholas and his son Reed. And we had a great time. There was a lot of events, a lot of displays, and opportunity to try things out. But the highlight of the day was definitely the arrival of the Cybertruck. And I was able to get this short video clip. Now, as soon as the announcement came that the Cybertruck was on its way, the crowd just rushed over here. They lined up, as you can see, and just listen to the reaction the Cybertruck got. I was very fortunate to be able to be this close, and everybody got a really great view, and the Cybertruck actually ended up doing a couple of laps around the Formula One racetrack. In addition, they were doing some filming. Now, I also got a chance to get this really good view of the all-wheel steering, so check out how this works and how the rear wheels are steering in conjunction with the front wheels. Pretty interesting. Now, in addition to the Cybertruck's appearance at the Electrify Expo, we also got some news here of a Tesla purchase agreement for those about to purchase Cybertrucks. And one of the interesting clauses that is in this purchase agreement is that new buyers cannot sell the Cybertruck within the first year of ownership. And this is a method that they are trying to employ to prevent the flipping of the Cybertruck. And with the popularity, that may be a good thing. But I don't know. What do you think about this new policy?
So as far as events going on here at Giga Texas today, when it goes to the Cybertrucks, as you can see by these two images, we saw 5 of them over by the west main entrance. I did see one driving around the south end near where they're putting in the building extension. And I saw 7 more over by the helicopter pad, which is in that testing and calibration lot. Now, all of these vehicles, I believe, are still the release candidates that they've been using to display and drive around the area this weekend. And what we saw at Electrify Expo was just one of them, but there were many sightings all over the area, and I think that's what these are. As far as the production Cybertrucks, what I'm being told is that they are making them, but they're keeping them inside somewhere. I don't know what the total number is, but it does make sense if they're getting ready for customer deliveries with all of this rain and the weather that we're having. But otherwise, let's get into the video. Let's take a look around Giga Texas and see how it looks today. As always, thank you very much for your support. I appreciate it. And next time I see you, I'll probably be down at Starbase. So take care.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. We start the flight out here on the southeast side on this kind of cloudy and gloomy day, taking a look at the multi-level parking garage construction site. Now at the bottom of the screen, you can tell that there's excavators at work. There's steel corrugated pipe being placed along the perimeter, and this is going to wrap all the way around and be part of the water management system. In addition to that, we see work in the middle section here. More footing construction is underway. The rains have kind of made it a little bit more messy for the crews, but work continues. We also see why they put that gravel and dirt mix on that west side. That is for the crane to be able to have access in between the footings. And we should see pretty soon some additional work, maybe even some steel going up here. I'm not really sure because this is a multi-level parking garage, so the construction style may be different, but it is interesting to see that they've got this large crane on the site today. And looking from the west to the east across the site gives you a really good perspective of how that looks today. Now, as we continue to fly towards the south along the east side of the main factory, what we're going to see on the right-hand side of the screen is the steel structure that we saw first going up on Friday has now expanded. It's about twice the size. And this is a good perspective of how this section is looking with all the footings under construction, the steel structure, all of the steel items off to the left that'll be part of this superstructure. And as I continue to fly over the power lines and get down a little lower, this gives you some good detail of how the column bases on the footings are really looking. Now, the steel structure has expanded beyond just that triangular section. You can see how it is tying into the perimeter grade beam on the left. And this also gives us a really good idea of how this structure will be constructed along at least this side and the angled portion, and it may be mirrored on the other side as well. But as I continue to maneuver the drone around this area, just take a look at the continued work. A lot of concrete, a lot of the forms are being removed on this side, and then more forms being put onto the middle section where the footings continue to be constructed and working their way from the right-hand side of the screen to the left. That would be east to west. And we get a good idea also of how this section looks from this perspective. The south wall, how all of the platforms and the scaffolding have been removed, all of those panels and that texturized material put on, and then the white stain as well. And as I continue to maneuver the drone along this side, I'm just trying to give you a really good view of how this whole area looks. On the center and left-hand side of the screen, we see new footings that have been excavated, some rebar cages, more rebar cages being temporarily stored here, waiting for the footings to be excavated. And on the left-hand side of the screen, we'll see more crew working to make more of those rebar cages. So it looks like they are really preparing to accelerate across this south end for footing construction. And I think that's great because the progress is really picking up for the construction of the extension of the building. Now I'm going to fly towards the south bridge, bring the drone up a little higher in altitude. I wanted to show you some of the work that is being done here. As we've talked about before, there is work being done underneath the bridge here where that steel corrugated pipe was located. We see some curb removal and some of the median changes here with the green grass between the two parts of River Road. And then under the south part of the bridge, we see where there's been more excavation work and some other preparation work to extend the site from this side underneath that bridge to the ecological uplift area that we discussed on a previous video. And here's a good perspective from the south end of the building and then from the other side of the highway as well. Now as I pan the drone towards the west, this gives you a good view of how the West Support Facility itself continues to develop. We see that road on the right-hand side of the screen where the new cars will travel from the factory to the outbound lot. We see the West Warehouse on wheels. In the distance, we saw the end of line and the outbound lot, and we'll get a closer view shortly. And then looking across the parking lot here with all of the contractor vehicles, we can see how that clearing continues to transform. A lot of the dirt being brought in from that Other clearing we talked about before, farther to the north, and they're removing the last of the hills and ponds from the sand and gravel mine and preparing that area possibly for more construction. As I continue to move the drone over the parking lot, you can see quite a few workers arriving today, getting ready to go onto the shuttle buses. And then this material storage location actually looks like some of the materials right at the bottom right of the screen have been cleared up, and this is actually starting to thin out. The other thing that I want to show you is here at the center of the screen, next to kind of that covered awning, you can see those large pipes and the workers nearby. The very large manifold that goes along with that has been moved over to the factory, and it looks like it actually went into the northeast corner, the casting machine structure, which means it may be part of that furnace. The TKS paint system items here still have about 4 remaining of those large items to be moved into the east side of body and white to continue that modular paint system. And then on the new outbound lot, we can see that the trenching closest to the drone is starting to be filled back in now that the conduit has been in place, and I think that's for lighting. And in the middle, we can see more of that trenching and preparation for the conduit is underway. So once that is done, almost this entire side has had that lighting conduit installed. This is a good view of the remaining brown steel items waiting to be installed inside the end-of-line facility. Also some concrete parts as well, and some of those storage trailers. But I'll continue to maneuver the drone around, good view across the end of line to the main factory so you can get a good sense of where this is located. We can also see, it looks like maybe some new power lines have been put in next to these concrete vaults, and a lot of the conduit is being installed now into the vaults. And that will connect the main factory under the highway with that horizontal drilling that we saw, and then the rest of this side. The north end is almost completely closed off with the wall panels. We can see where there's going to be some more large doors for vehicle access. And then on the east side here, more of that conduit and the concrete vaults being placed at the bottom of the screen. Looks like most of the concrete has been poured on top of the conduits to help keep those in place. As I maneuver the drone around the south end, you can see more of that conduit getting ready for a 90-degree turn. Also, that excavation where those concrete vaults stored nearby will be installed at some future date. And we're flying over the material staging yard that has a lot of the production material that's being installed inside the building. And then on the south side, we can tell that almost all of the final appearance is completed. There's a long stretch of that semi-transparent material that will allow lighting inside and will help with the electric bill and give a lot of ambient light as well. And you can see that continuing along the west side of the building as well. And I think that natural light will really help quite a bit. So let's get ready to cross over the highway and take a look at what's going on by the main entrance. I was fortunate enough to see 3 Cybertrucks here. One of them just arrived. Eventually there will be 5 here, and I did get some images later on after I finished the flight. But right now we can see the 3 of them. I think these are all release candidates, and many of these and the ones we'll see on the east side have been used around the area, specifically this weekend, for a lot of photo shots and opportunities for the public to see them. But this is what it looks like near the main entrance. And again, it's amazing how many Cybertrucks I'm starting to see around the site now that we're getting much closer to the delivery event. Here's a good view of the main entrance and how it looks today. It looks like they're still working on cleaning up some of that bleed-through material between the cracks of that stone glass black material, and you can see some of those streaks on it. I think that's still part of the curing process. The temporary end-of-line facility is busy again today. We'll see a white Model Y coming out of the factory. These will be lined up, and then they'll be moved over to the east side to do final preparations ahead of being picked up by the transport vehicles. As I turn the drone towards the west, we'll see that there's this large light post near where the horizontal drilling comes through under the highway. You can see how this looks with the large HDPE pipe and then the smaller pipes. And this is where they're going to connect the electrical conduit and wires from the factory underneath the highway over to that new end-of-line facility and the outbound lot as well. So I'm going to bring the drone towards the north. We'll fly along the west side, and this will be a good view of how this part of the factory looks today. As we round the northwest corner, there's a few big changes that are happening here in the corner and the north section of where the 4680 battery cell production takes place. Now, we've been talking for many months about how they're expanding this section. They're installing a lot of that steel, and they've been doing a lot of concrete work. Now we see even more of the wall panels have been removed underneath this taller platform. And I'll try to give you a good zoomed in view so you can take a look at how it looks, at least on the ground floor level. And we can see the concrete works appears to be done, most of the steel. And on the right-hand side, we can see that new second floor that had been installed as well. So the interior construction looks like it's continuing to progress, and maybe it'll be getting closer to the end soon, and then we'll start seeing some production equipment being moved into that part of the building. On the northeast corner, we see some deliveries. We see crews working in and around where there are platform items that it looks like they're stacking up, and then where the electrical conduit and wires are being installed that go up to the electrical switch yard. On this side, we see a brand new crane. This is one of the reasons why that Elite Refractory Systems trailer was moved away, because they needed to make room for this crane. And I believe that this crane was partially used to move in to the building here, that very large manifold that I showed you on the previous video. And it may be part of the furnace system, and also related to these ducted fans, vents, and the HVAC enclosures that have been added to provide that ventilation. And you see also some of these white dots along this area. What we're also going to see is these scaffolding items installed there, and it may be part of the ductwork that connects the ducted fans to those ventilation openings. There's also some new developments here on the east side of the casting machine structure. As you can tell, there's a lot of Cybertruck castings that have been made. Looks like some of them stacked on the left may be marked as scrap, but there's a lot others that look like they are right out of the casting machine waiting that milling and trimming. On the left-hand side of the screen, you also saw that large pipe. That is part of that manifold system that I mentioned and we saw being assembled on my previous video. You can also see other pipes, and that's all part of that system that serves that furnace. Now, we also see more of the Cybertruck castings here. I'll zoom in so you can get a good look at what these appear like. The ones on the right look like they may be trimmed, and the one on the left looks like they have not been trimmed yet. So it's a good kind of side-by-side view of what those look like. And as I continue to pan the drone to the south, this is where that electrical wire is still being installed into the vaults and connecting to the building, and that'll be going all the way up to the electrical switch yard to provide power and bring that second large transformer online. This concrete apron still looks like it's getting some work done, and all of the enclosures for the receiver doors have been completed, at least up to this point. The testing and calibration lot looks actually fairly empty today. Most of the Model Ys have been picked up and transported off-site, and as we saw at the temporary end-of-line facility on the west side, production has resumed, so we should start seeing a lot more of the Model Ys arriving. Now, as I do this descending, turning around by the helicopter pad, we can see there are 7 more Cybertrucks. Again, I think these are most likely the release candidate ones that were used for the photo ops around the area, including at least one of them over at the Electrify Expo this weekend. And there's a good view of 7 lined up shoulder to shoulder, and how that looks here on the testing and calibration lot today. I'm going to reposition the drone, and we're going to go take a look at what is going on at the main outbound lot. And what you'll see is that there are Model Ys, but a lot of them have been transported off-site, more transport work underway, and they're going to be replenishing this with the production that resumed this morning after the weekend. As I continue to fly over the east warehouse on wheels, this will be just a good view of this section and side of the site as we get ready to go over to the cathode plant. I'll take this opportunity to look inside the south end, second floor of the battery cathode plant. Just give you an idea of how those pneumatic blenders on the left and that assembly continues. Looks like they have that upper platform and some of the beams and columns installed, and looks like most of that is getting close to being completed. We also see more of these wooden crates with deliveries, and that'll be more parts for the assembly, and then of course the right-hand side as well inside that structure. Looks like it's still empty on that part of the building. As we fly around the east section and take a look at the crash test facility on the right, we can also get a good sense of that water detention pond and some of the stormwater drainage pipes that are being installed. And as we had talked about before, it does look in fact like this is the main drain for the water. It'll be draining the water detention pond off to the east, and you can kind of see where they're preparing for an outfall channel into the tree area. As I maneuver around, this gives you a good view of how this whole side looks today. The wade pit has a lot of water from the rain, but it's not being used for wade testing. And again, how this entire east side looks today. Now, as I continue to maneuver towards the northeast, I'll just give you a good look at the materials, the workshops, those 2 stainless steel tanks, and just other items that continue to wait here for their opportunity to be installed at the factory. And as I maneuver back towards the west side, this gives you a good view of the work going on here at the north end, that lift station with the concrete vaults, and also that center section that has had geotextile membrane and a lot of dirt put in. And you can tell that it's not flooded now, even with the rain. So this is helping to improve that grade elevation and keep that constant amount of water that we would see here at bay. More work on the west side, widening out this section. It looks like they may be preparing this for eventual paving at some point. And the die shop on the left continues to have that work on the inside where that concrete has been cut up, and probably just reconfiguring for some more materials. As I maneuver back to take a look at the die shop with the battery cathode plant in the background, I want to get the drone over to the alleyway and show you the work that is going on. You can tell that the concrete apron on the left is all completed and cross-cut all the way up to that nitrogen tank on the left with the vaporizer system. And we also see that on the right-hand side, the crane has been delivered to maneuver those 4 nitrogen tanks back over to that new section where they reinforced and improved the mounts. You can kind of get a good sense of that next to those 3 tanks on the left. And it looks like the crane is maneuvering these weights to put it onto most likely those bars to help stabilize the crane as it moves those tanks. And I'll continue to maneuver the drone to give you a good view here of that formwork with the concrete is now completed around the stainless steel tanks. You can see all the manifolds next to the vaporizer system and how this works today. And the top of the chiller plant, all of those pumps, valves, heat exchangers, and some of the Evapco fan units in operation as well. And this is another good view of that center section with all the dirt geotextile membrane and how it has definitely improved the drainage on this side of the facility. So I'm going to maneuver across this north end and we'll resume the narration over at the electrical switch yard. It appears that the work on this north end to connect all the wires and the other items onto that pole are completed. And as I maneuver along the length of the electrical switch yard, we can see these spools that used to have wires. Some of them still have wires, waiting for further installation in some of the conduits, maybe also related to finishing up that electrical wiring on the east side of the casting machine structure portion of the main factory. This is a good view of that underground vault. Just before I got here, I saw workers going inside, so they're doing some work in that area. And then, of course, that second large transformer still has the breakers open, so you can see that on the right-hand side of the screen, and it just tells me that they're still waiting for all that wiring to be completed before they can energize that part of the switch yard. I'm going to maneuver towards the south slightly, give you a good view of more of the work underneath the power lines here with some water management pipes. You can also see a gas pipe that runs underneath the wires the length of the building as well. And we also take a look at this section here with the contractor trailers and materials. It's very cleaned out, which tells me that they're getting close to being finished with the work here. And this is a good view of the megapacks, and you can get a good sense of how that looks today. It looks very finished to me. The north end electrical section with this transformer looks like it is also nearing completion. You can see that work on the north end where the connection goes all the way to the north side of the electrical switch yard. It looks like final work is being done before they'll put the gravel mix underneath there and finish out this particular area. So otherwise, that's a good look around the site today. I'm going to take this opportunity and do a big pull away and kind of try to reveal most of the site today so you can get a good idea where everything is located. At the top of the screen is that west side support facility with the end of line and outbound lot where we take a look at. We can see that multi-level parking garage on the left and then the building extension on the left as well on that south side. And this is the crash test facility, the battery cathode, and the die shop area, and then that large water detention pond with that outfall channel being constructed. And of course, this is the far east side looking back towards the main factory. So thank you very much for watching. Next time I may be at Starbase, and in the meantime, take care, and I appreciate your support.